So with Valentine's Day coming up, I thought I would talk a little bit about love. So my talk title is Love Life. To love life is to love God, because God is life itself. And so we're to love life. And when you say, I hate my life, you're really saying you hate God. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to love every part of life. If you got a dentist appointment, you don't necessarily go in all excited about that, unless there's something severely wrong with you. But you can be grateful for it. You know, if you're in the chair, you can be grateful. You've got professionals there. You've got to be grateful that it's a clean and modern, and they're going to keep you out of pain as much as they can. So if you can't do love, at least do gratitude. The goal is to deal with what we have to deal with without adding any extra energy or drama to it, and then look for things that bring you love. Look for things which are pleasing and good. Look for things that you find helpful. What we give our attention to, we encourage. What we look for, we find. And what we work with becomes the law, the law of our lives. And love wants to be expressed through you. And if you will give it a chance, it will show up in unexpected ways that will just leave you in awe and gratitude. Last week, I had a really amazing, great week. Blessing after blessing showed up in my life. And one of the first ones that showed up that was really needed and necessary was we found somebody to help us with the website. We had hired a company to redo our website, and they had told us not to worry about it, that they could train any idiot to run the website. Little did they know I was the idiot they were getting to train. Now, I could have done it. But it got to a point where it was just, I would have just as soon go to get a colonoscopy in the morning and have a visit with an IRS agent in the afternoon as to try to learn. There was points I was getting ready to throw the laptop out the window. Fortunately, our wonderful college guy over here, Miles, Joe College, and I can do this. So I sent him some things over, and boy, he's doing an amazing, great, good job. Yeah. Thank you, Miles. Sometimes the right answer is a lot closer than we think. Sometimes it's not as far. You know, Dr. Holmes, the founder of our teaching, he said, we look too far away for our reality. What is our reality? Our reality is we're loved, we're supported, we're encouraged. It's closer than we think. So that was the first really nice thing. Second nice thing, I've been planning I am president of the interfaith group here in St. Augustine because no one else is willing to do it. And I've been doing it for a long, long time now. And so I want to get a group of them together so we can move on in leadership. And so I was trying to get that organized, getting a group of ministers and from different denominations all on the same page. Boy, that's a challenge. That's a challenge. So midway through, I had realized that I had gotten a card from a lady who's the minister of the Church of Latter-day Saints. She's a Mormon minister. And she had given me her assistant's card, and she said, call my assistant. I don't have my card on me, but call my assistant. I would really like to participate in this organization. Well, I had forgot to do it, but on Thursday, I saw it in my wallet, and I thought, well, I need to call them. Now, interesting, I had never really thought of the Mormons as being interested in interfaith work. That didn't fit into my category. But I called them up, and they could not have been more lovely and friendly and wanting to help out. Sometimes our help and love comes from unexpected places that we weren't looking for. It's just a reminder we have to be open and receptive to the good that comes our way. Now, the whole week itself, Monday morning got off to a great start because I turned on the television and I got all these little videos from the Grammys. And I thought the Grammys were excellent. I loved Miley Cyrus. I loved her song about I can buy my own flowers. And coming up on Valentine's Day, that's a good reminder. If you don't have anybody buying your flowers for you, go get some flowers on your own. If you don't have anybody buying chocolate for you, go get chocolate. Go get the good chocolate. Yeah. Our teaching is really, we want to remind you, love yourself, appreciate yourself, value yourself. And if you're not finding it in the world, you can still do it for yourself. I always liked, you remember the show Big Bang Theory? Raj on the Big Bang Theory, he didn't have a girlfriend for a Valentine's Day. They asked him, they says, well, how are you going to celebrate it? He says, well, I'm going to get myself up. I'm going to take myself out to a nice brunch. I'm going to have a massage. I'm going to go to a movie I've been wanting to see. And I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to go to a pet store and have a puppy lick my nose. Well, that's a perfect thing at Valentine's Day. So make sure you appreciate yourself this Valentine's Day. Now, the second song that really got me, that I absolutely loved, and performance I thought was just healing, was Tracy Chapman and Luke Combs singing Fast Car. Oh, my goodness. The two of them were so gracious to each other, especially Luke Combs. He's talked about her since, and he said, this is a brilliant woman. And he said, I'm so grateful that she allowed me to share the stage with her. I don't know, as we said in the South, I don't know who raised him, but somebody raised that boy right. They really did. And to see them from different backgrounds, different kinds of people, different experiences, but coming together in respect and throwing all that aside and making a really healing event, coming together and joining their voices together and making something greater than the individual could happen. That is a healing example for our nation, and we need to clue into that. We need to remind ourselves of that we can let a lot of this turmoil and nonsense, we can lose a lot of that and remind ourselves that together, we have a gift that we can bring to the world, and we can illuminate and light up the world with joy and compassion. Luke said about Tracy Chapman, he said, she's the genius lyricist of our time. And I think he's about right. Fast Car, it's an American, typical American song because it involves cars, driving fast. It's a love song, but there's an undercurrent of sadness to it because the person's in sad situations and she's bearing her soul out in a romantic relationship probably a little bit too soon. It's nothing I've ever done myself, but I understand people do. Yeah. And she says, I had a feeling like I could belong. I had a feeling like I could be someone. A feeling I could be someone. These are soul level questions that you really have to answer for yourself. And the love is the way we can find these answers. And sometimes it shows up in romantic love. The challenge for romantic love is typically, it burns with intensity, and sometimes we have to work to keep it that intense. But in those intense moments, we do have a glimpse of what we can be. It's like the veil between the physical and the spiritual breaks through, and we have a glimpse of our idealized self, of how life can be. We're actually glimpsing the potential of God being made manifest in the physical. I remember when I first read Romeo and Juliet, Shakespeare, I was in the 8th grade, and of course, romantic, all 8th graders are, I don't know, I don't think all of us, but some of us really were enraptured in that. I remember I had a bitter 8th grade school teacher. She was an older lady. She was bitter as car battery acid. And she didn't think there was anything charming about these two young, doomed people falling in love. But it is that glimpse. Romeo tells Juliet at one point, our love can end all sorrow. Well, now, is that going to really happen? No, but it's a glimpse of what's possible. And that's what we want to do through love, through our romantic love, love of family, love of friends, love of pets, love of life, love of God itself. And what's coming to me now more is love of this communion with Spirit, of the good we can do here in the physical plane, loving what's possible for us to make of our lives. Because the more we're able to give of ourselves, the more we're able to go out into the world and being loving as we can to bring love to the forefront of our lives, the more we're going to be able to change this world of ours. And this is what we're here to do. We're here to experience ourselves in this power making a difference. It's to see ourselves as God's benefactor to the world. Now, not to make ourselves into martyrs, not to do it through guilt and shame. We've tried that for 2,000 years. It didn't work. But to do it in joy, do it in love, to do it because we are so full of God's love, we cannot help but go out and share it to the world. And do it because it makes us feel better. If you want to feel better about yourself, say a prayer for someone else. If you want to really feel good about yourself, go out and do an act of service for someone else. And sometimes it can be easier than we think. And sometimes it can have a huge impact that we can't even envision, we can't even imagine. So this past week, I was dealing with the interfaith group, all the ministers of the interfaith group. I also had a project on my plate, and that was to create a video for our wonderful friend Diana, who was going through a health challenge. And I needed to link all these little separate videos together and make one big video. And I was not looking forward to it at all. I just could envision all the challenges it was going to be, the headache it was going to be. I sat down with my cup of coffee, and 1, 2, 3 was done. It was done. And when we sent it off to Diana, she wrote back, she says, I have tears in my eyes watching it. You won't know the support this has been for me. God wants love to pour from us, and we can open ourselves up and we can create blessings that we cannot imagine. We have an interesting idea in our teaching. Our teaching says that you can control the amount of love you have in your life, because the more love you give, the more you will receive in full measure, shaken down and overflowing. We're called to be lovers of the world. Rumi, the Sufi poet, he said, your task is not to seek love, but to find the barriers within yourself that's holding it back. You don't have to run around telling everybody how much you love them, but you can let them know you appreciate them. You can acknowledge them. Sometimes that's all, just acknowledge, I see you. And you can be pleasant. You can be pleasant even to the checkout lady who makes snide comments about your selection of ice cream. You can still be pleasant. Love isn't external. It's not something we have to go outside and acquire. It resides in us. And it's about us letting it flow out to the world. It's the cheapest and best insurance policy you can buy to be loving and kind to people. When I first got here, by the way, and just to give you a little history factoid, it was 12 years ago today that I first stood on this stage. Yeah. Yeah, I thought I had blown the interview when they asked me what team I had picked for Super Bowl, and I was like, I don't even know really what Super Bowl is. So, but they hired me anyway. Now, while, when I first got here, I had this naughty little gnome running around here. His name was Bernie. And he was a naughty little gnome. He was like the Pillsbury Doughboy. You just poked him and he giggled. I would joke about him that anytime I needed to find him, all I had to do was look for a gaggle of women, and he'd be in the middle of them, just entertaining them all. He told me, he says, everybody wants to help me. He says, everybody is so kind to me. And he says, they just go out of their way. And they really did. So I remember a particular instance when he wasn't doing so well. He checked in and checked out of several hospice centers. He would go there and decide, no, he wasn't dying yet, and he would check himself out. He had gone to Flagler, not the hospice, just the regular hospital, and he was over there when we had another visitor come to our community called Matthew, the hurricane. And Matthew was coming. We had been evacuated from our house, so we got our two puppies and we headed west. We got to a place we thought was going to be okay, but that afternoon they sent out another warning that we needed to evacuate that second place. That night, I got a call from a nurse over in Flagler, and she says, I'm dealing with this aggravating old man, and he says he knows you. And I was like, put Bernie on the line. I know who you're talking about. She gets him on. Bernie's wanting to leave the hospital. The hurricane is almost here. Bernie wants to leave the hospital to go back and ride out the hurricane in his single wide trailer. So I'm scared that he's going to leave and expect help. And so I tell him, I said, Bernie, you're in a safe place now. Stay there. Stay there. He wouldn't have it. He wanted to go home. So, all right, fine. So the hurricane comes through. We have service here on Sunday morning. A friend says, Ken, we need to go check on Bernie. And so we drove over to his trailer. I noticed she let me go in first because I did not know what we would find. I really didn't. And what we found was Bernie sitting up in his lazy boy sofa in his underwear, drinking a cup of tea and watching a rerun of Gunsmoke. The trailer itself looked like it had been through a spring shower. There was no limbs, no damage, maybe a leaf or two. Bernie radiated love. He radiated love, and it came back to him. You see, we have the spiritual atmosphere. Dr. Holmes talked about this. Our thoughts and our feelings, it creates this energy around us. That's the reason sometimes you meet people, you like them automatically. Sometimes you meet people and you get a little cranky feeling. It's this atmosphere. Bernie exuded love. And because he had so much love, he exuded protection. He was being safe, whether it was going to be at the hospital or a single wide trailer. The spiritual atmosphere of ours, it draws things to us and it repels other things from us. We just want to make sure that what we're bringing to us is what we want. What we're repelling is what we don't want. Love is the currency of miracles. Love, through the power of love, we heal, we uplift, we transform ourselves and the world around us. Rumi said, don't feel lonely. The entire universe is within you. He said, stop acting small. Stop playing small. Nelson Mandela, at his inaugural to become president of South Africa, said the same thing. He said, stop playing small. You've done it long enough. Rumi said, the universe is within you. You are the universe in ecstatic motion. He said, set yourself on fire for love, on fire for compassion, on fire for kindness, on fire for a new world, a new heaven and a new earth, where love is the economy. And this is what we're here to do, to love as much as we can, and what we can't love, turn it over to God. I turned rutabagas over to God long ago. I don't love it, you love it. You created it. And then go about and envision the best world you can. Envision the best you can, where you're strong and healthy and prosperous, where you're out in the world making a difference, where you're out in the world and inspiring and encouraging and lifting people up, where you are seeing God itself being made manifest through your compassion, your kindness, in a way that you cannot make a doubt, where you can't deny for yourself, that you and God are one, making a difference in the world, bringing about through love and joy and compassion a better world. We can do it. It's what Spirit has called us to do, and we have the power. It's the truth. It's the truth in your life this morning. It's the truth in mine, and so it is. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.